Hi guys, quick update here for Bitcoin on the S&P's 3rd of April, Monday 2023. So we'll start off with Bitcoin first. The feeling is currently this market just doesn't really want to sell off. There's no major OTF selling going on here that I can see. Just a whole bunch of locals who are day trading this. Everyone's waiting for 25k to get hit to buy the retest. If everyone's waiting for 25k, chances are that it's not going to happen. When it was down here, we said 36k is a possibility. Right now we've got a zone here, 32 towards 36k. Yeah, sure, they could run it back down here to 26k first, form a shakeout pattern, then run it higher. But there's no real aggressive selling, that is taking place here via the OTF anyway. So there's no real smart money selling that I can sense just yet. I do feel risk assets will top in Q2, and that's going to be very important when we look at the Nasdaq as well as the S&P especially. And we'll get into that in a minute. But you've got this 32 towards 39k, which is the 50 and the 61.8, and you also have this trend line which is testing around the same kind of level, right? So the trend line is basically touching these highs here, and it's kind of touching these lows here, right? So it's fairly horizontal line that we have here. I'm on the 3-day chart here, right? So you could argue that was the head and shoulders breakdown that we had, or the double top breakdown, right? So the trend line kind of lines up with here. So at what point on the horizontal axis do these two converge? Well, if we're saying 36k best case scenario, that's the 19th of May. Is this a whole go in May, come back St. Ledger's Day? Well, you got another 6 weeks to find out. There is a general feeling of skepticism, though, and pessimism this entire move. And still, this is nothing like a 20k top or a 69 top. We're nowhere near that level of euphoria. So if you were just trading off sentiment, which obviously isn't the only thing we should be looking at, especially in a bear market where sentiment is generally and rightfully bearish because the trend is obviously down, this market should go higher. Now, we're now in the optimism phase. We're at 30.76. If we go back to this 2019, which we've said this 6-month mini bull market that we had here, we were at 30% around about here somewhere in May. Didn't actually top all the way until June. So are we here? Are we around this sort of 7, 8, 9k move prior to the 14k move? We know this percentage can get quite euphoric. I mean, it can get as high as 61%. So if you were just looking at sentiment, we've not topped, basically. And also, if you look at the Fear and Greed Index, there's no need to sign up to this website, by the way. Everything's free, so hopefully they don't start charging for this the minute this video is over. Otherwise, we're going to have to get these guys as a sponsor. It's 63, and we've gone as high as 95. So if you were looking at sentiment only, which obviously isn't the only thing that we look at, one would think that this market still wants to go a little bit higher. I'm not off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just cannot believe this is going on. I do feel a run off 69k will eventually happen. All I'm saying is it's going to come down first before we then go higher, right? So there's an X wave, just like this move here. The problem with this move, of course, is that here I said 2.5k, 2k, and we've pretty much got there, right? But I was happy that had gone pretty much low enough. I'm just not happy that this 15k is anywhere near low enough. We still have not explored the entire region from the pandemic low all the way to the pandemic high. There's still so many, multiple reasons, so many reasons why the S&P and Bitcoin and Nasdaq has to explore this entire region, pre-pandemic high to the actual crash lows. There's a huge box here. That's why I'm not convinced this is a real bull market move. But hey, we need to get everyone long for this market to crash. And I am expecting a Q2 top. Yeah. So just going off trend lines without looking at anything else and the target box, that suggests a top 16th of May, right? 2 weeks after the moon launch for Dogecoin, right? And then, yes, that's just a double zigzag, isn't it? Yeah, so a 5 into here, probably. and then a B into here, then a C into here. So you could read that as just the ABCB, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5, 3, 5, right? And this is some kind of strange wave 4 or wave 2 consolidation, so a little bit higher. Whether you take the wave 1, the wave A from here or here, I don't think it really matters. But if you just take some basic Fibonacci analysis here, the 1-to-1 is at 32k, and then we drag it up to the 36k, and I believe the 618 extension is at 34k. So at 32 to 36k, it seems possible here, given the fact that this is still consolidating here and it doesn't really want to break down. So you could argue we're very similar to here. Now, of course, in the middle of all of this, we've got this little scam liquidation wick. So one of those might be coming, but that aside, never really broke the entire structure though, did it, right? Then we topped in a euphoric move, then we had the big move down. So, and by the way, during this time here, quite possibly some of the altcoins might start popping off. Right now, Bitcoin is still kind of in the lead here. When Bitcoin dominance goes up and Bitcoin goes up, you want to be holding Bitcoin. So let's see what happens. 32, 36k. Maybe a few weeks ago, I thought there might have been a retest of 25k, but the market just doesn't really seem to want to sell off here. So as we get new money entering this market, Q2, from various places, then that can help to cause the top. Now S&P. So let's just take off this volume profile. It's just getting in the way, isn't it? So we've marked out the yearly open, which is pretty much where we have come down and bounced off of, right? So we know the yearly open is very, very important. We are still expecting a down year. I'm not regarding this as anything other than a bear market rally. We introduced two ideas on the last YouTube video about 4 weeks ago. Either the A is here or the A is here. Let's just read it from here now. And there might be a sneaky little flat in there, and it appears to be possible, right? You can still read that, by the way, as a 1-2 down, but literally we have to crash right here now, because we're at the 78.6. Literally this market has to crash today. Doesn't look as though that's going to happen. That would be unlikely, in which case this little move here was a sneaky, basically 335 flat, right? And that's the only way to make sense of this. So we did mention this on the last video. The yearly open is very important because everyone was seeing red for a couple of days, and it only needs to be a wick. That's why the shakeout pattern is so very, very effective. It only needs to be a second, and you've got your trap. Anyway, so then that would then be a 5-3-5. Of course, that could also be a WXY, in which case this final part of the sequence can break down in 3. Otherwise, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So without getting too fancy and too complicated here, I don't really think it matters. Let me just take that off. I don't want to get too complicated. Ultimately, it was a lower degree ABC into a larger possible ABC or a WXY into a larger X wave or B wave, right? And basically, long story short, as we said, we're going to run these highs here, which, as we mentioned before, you can't see that wick anywhere other than on the 3-month chart. It looks as though we want to basically run that high there, right? And that would definitely get everyone very, very bullish on the S&P. The fact that we could make it all the way to basically a 9-month high and take out the August 2022 lows, highs, that would be very, very bullish. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at a Bitcoin price of 32, 36k, S&P 4300. Then we stabilize here, form an S-curve pattern, go above, back under, and then next thing you know, we're doing this, right? I'm not off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I continue to see this end of the world doomsday count. It's just not possible. I don't know why this count continues to come up on YouTube searches. It's quite worrying, really, that this count continues. We're not in that kind of move. This is not a 1929 move at all. It's effectively a sideways crash, right? But my issue is that it hasn't gone low enough yet, right? I'm not disputing the S&P is going to be at 4K December 31st, 2029. No one's disputing that. Certainly I'm not. All I'm saying is we need to explore more in terms of price, right? So it's effectively a sideways crash. So it's not possible for it to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19, 29, because we should already be down here then. We should already be down here. Is Apple going to collapse 50% tomorrow? Probably not. People are not going to let go of things like Apple and Microsoft that easily. Sure, they're going to pull back, of course, because they own about 13% of the index. But, this is not it's not a 1929, basically. Maybe 5 years ago I thought that. Maybe 5 years ago. But, it's an inflationary bear market. In a deflationary bear market, that definitely would have been the case. But this is very clearly an inflationary bear market. So I'm more off the ABC camp. Maybe it's a debt ceiling issue. Apparently in May or June, something like that may kick off. So, that would help to explain a very quick, fast move down, accelerated move down. Yeah. And then we get the V bottom move and then back up again. Yeah. So that's what I'm forecasting. So that is the current take for the S&P. So that's Bitcoin, 32, 36K. If the S&P is bearish, that is, it needs to sell off immediately. Unlikely, let's be honest. 32K, 36K would be very bullish on Bitcoin. 4,300 on the S&P, let's be honest, would be very bullish. A lot of people would be FOMOing back in here. Because that is, where is the bull market getting declared again? Yeah, 4206, right? So a bull market technically gets declared 20% from the recent lows. It depends which lows you want to take. Everyone's focusing on the October lows, obviously. So, people look at these sort of psychological targets. So I think I suppose it could even go to 4,500. I don't see it making a new high though. But where's the 61.8? No, it's going to run into some resistance here. See, we're on the log chart here. We're already at the 50. And that's the 61.8. So 4,300 makes a lot of sense. Once again, it's the advantage of looking at multi-time frames. You can't see that wick, can you? Really, let's be honest. You can't really see it on the daily chart. You don't know that it's there. And that will definitely get some euphoria here. Once again, we're in Q2. Q2 only started today, yesterday, whenever, right? So, we're looking at a top in Q2. This is what I'm saying. A top in Q2, right? And Q2 is all the way until the end of June, obviously, right? So, when's the end of June? So, April, May, June, here. So, between here and here, we're definitely going to top. I don't think anyone is disputing that. Question is when. Some point over the next 12 weeks, we're definitely going to top. And then we're going to, set off the move down. Then Q3, we're probably going to, I said Labor Day, right? I'm still looking at 2,600. I suppose, we can refine this lower target once we know where the B wave and the X wave pivot is in, obviously, right? We can then work out the calculations. But once again, I'm not happy that the S&P hasn't gone low enough, right? As a bare minimum, it needs to explore all of this region. Anyone who knows about volume profile, auction market theory, of which there are probably many listeners, and we discuss all of that in the masterclass in a very simple manner. No need to use crappy cumulative delta bars and fancy footprint software. It's all largely useless. If you know how to interpret that in terms of candlesticks, it's there. But the market structure that ran up this entire furlough stimulus, Joe Biden monopoly money move, that needs to get repaired. And we've been waiting for a good crash on the S&P for 1.5 years, okay? So I'm not off the Tom Lee opinion we're in a bull market. We were just very, very oversold. So looking at a top the next 12 weeks, could be this month. If not this month, I would be surprised if it's not occurred by halfway through May. That will get people nice and bullish. Now, Qs. So where did we leave the Qs? Well, it's pretty much doing exactly what we said there, right? Assuming that the A is here and not here, right? It's here, and yes, it's 5 waves down. We're not Elliott Wave purist here because Elliott Wave isn't the only thing that you want to use. Qs can still go to 200, and once again, we're just drawing it out. It's just going to run those same highs, which once again, you can't see those highs. I mean, you're a brave man to be shorting the Qs right here, right now. It's basically closed on the high. There's no wick there whatsoever. So for the Qs to collapse right here, right now, today, first day of Q1, highly unlikely. Let's see the reaction at 334. Is that a genuine impulsive move? Absolutely not. I don't think so. Where's the fibs? Let's put it on the weekly chart now. Right, assuming we go off the October low pivot. Right, we're at the 50. There's the 61.8. So the target on the Qs, and in fact, we're quite soon. We're quite close here. That's barely 5-6%. We're already at 320. So it's just doing what we mentioned on the last video. It's just the way it's got there has been a little bit sneaky, that's all. So 330, 340, get people nice and bullish, right? I believe it's already in a bull market technically. We're bound to be up 20%. That'll be more like 30, 34%. That 20% and 20% from here. Yeah, we're pretty much 20% from there too. So there are multiple bull markets supposedly going on the Qs, and then that's your 5 waves down. That's your A leg, and then once again we're just carving out the B leg, and then there's still the potential for a big move down, right? So once again, I know things look really bullish, but they're not. Obviously, that can't be a 1-2 down, right? So these 1-2 doomsday Harry Dent scenarios, that's not even possible. You can't have the Nasdaq going or the Qs going to like 50. Not in an inflationary bear market. Apple should be well less than where it is right now if that were to happen. So it's a B wave probably, right? And then we're going to come down in a big C leg, right? Once again, maybe it's a debt ceiling issue. So that's that. So I don't think there's really much to update here, really. So that's Bitcoin. That's the Nasdaq. And Ethereum, well, we said we'll be surprised if it gets much above 2100, right? It's not selling off in any real aggressive way. Maybe it's some crappy ending diagonal kind of situation going on here. It can't really go much above 2100. Certainly, if it does, you'd have to get bullish here, frankly. So, and I'm talking about a real move above 21. I'm not talking about a little wick, because then it'll just do this probably, right? So, that is the limit to the upside. There's so much resistance and supply in this region. Don't forget, with Bitcoin, look at the psychology. How many people do we know for a fact are trapped up here who bought Bitcoin at unfavorable prices above 40,000? So when the price re-enters that region, what are they going to do? They're going to sell, because a lot of them are probably first-time buyers. They don't know how to read a chart, probably. So they couldn't see the situation where it had come from. It was already up 20x by the time they were buying. First-time buyers, usually all they want to do is get their money back and run. So you have to expect a lot of selling pressure if we do indeed go to 32, 36, and definitely around 40k. There's going to be a lot of selling pressure there from people who have entered for the first time ever at very unfavorable prices. That's just a psychological thing. They're going to say to themselves, right, finally, we've managed to make back all of these unrealized losses. We've got back to break even. I'm not going near this asset ever again. So, there's going to be a lot of selling pressure there, just like there was at 14k, by the way, right? We have to expect, and we know for a fact there was a lot of FOMO in above 17, 18k, right? And that causes the supply. They're now back to break even. How anyone can hold through a 50, 60% drawdown, I will never know. But people do strange things. People go off probabilities and certainties, and I don't really know what they go off really, but that creates the selling pressure there. Yeah, there's probably another trend line here too, I suppose. That one there, yeah, and obviously we've taken out this one here, right? So forget about the fibs. You can just look at this in terms of trend lines. Where's the other trend line gone? Okay, well, we're on the BLX, right? So we know where the other one is. I think it was here somewhere. Yeah, something like that. Okay, in fact, what we'll do, we'll just pull that trend line up on the BLX. Is that it? Where's it gone? No, I think it's on Coinbase, right? Right, fine. So that's the trend line coming in from the lows and the highs, and now we're going to draw another trend line connecting this high to this high. Once again, creates a bit of a confluence there, right? On top of that, you add in the Fibonacci, in terms of the 50 and the 61.8, seems as though that's where it wants to go, and certainly that would bring in some euphoria. Okay, good. We're on 20 minutes, so we kind of rambled on here for a little too long. So I think that's it, really. And obviously, dollar isn't, is definitely helping, right? Dollar, I mean, yeah, we said possibly there might be a little sneaky. I mean, this is in a lot of issues here. This is going to go down to about 70 over the next couple of years, 3-4 years minimum. There's no real hope here for the US dollar. There might be a bounce around 82. Sure, they might turn it into a bit of a flat, but a falling dollar definitely supports the whole risk-on rally. I'm sure eventually we'll get a counter-trend move, but longer-term trend is definitely down. We're not going to go up to these highs on the dollar for a very, very long time. So that's why the pound's doing really well and the euro's doing really well. So it's great if you want cheap holidays, if you're holding those two currencies. I mean, those two currencies have done very, very poorly the last 13 years, but the stock market moves in cycles, right? So you have to know which currency is going to be the one that's actually appreciating. And right now, I don't see anything for the dollar here. This is actually beneficial for multinational corporations, by the way, in the US. So that's why the big tech stocks like Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, Apple, this is actually benefiting them when you convert back into US dollars. Anyway, that's my take. So cautiously bullish here. I expect the euphoria to build over the next 6 weeks. We're definitely going to get a top this quarter, but obviously we're day one into a 3-month quarter. It can happen at any time. Could happen, the next 6 weeks. Could happen the next couple of weeks. I'd be surprised if it occurs today or tomorrow, right? It's going to take some time, but eventually this quarter, we are going to get a top, then we're going to move back down, and then Q3, we're going to accelerate the sell-off, we think, right into Labor Day, and then we'll have to reassess and see where the market wants to go. I don't feel Bitcoin can make 100K from this move here. It's going to stall eventually, and the higher things go, the less profit there is to make. But my feeling is there's still one more push up here before we get the top. Anyway, I'll catch you guys soon. If you want to look at some educational courses, everything's there, and if you want to join the group, then you're more than happy to do so, and we'll get a part 2 to that mortgage course at some point. It's been delayed by 1.5 years, so maybe next year now. Maybe Q1 of next year.